Part 4. Design goes public. 17. Avoiding vandalism through participation. How participation curtailed vandalism. Westbourne Park, Barnaby, British Columbia, spring 1977. Children paint murals over the entire exterior of a community center. A critical public meeting proves unrepresentative and vandalism is curtailed. Context. The community center in Westbourne Park, Barnaby, in the lower mainland of British Columbia was due for a repainting. Must it be brown again? Asked the members of Barnaby's beautification committee. How about bright colors? But what would the neighbors think? Co-design workshop. Co-design facilitators were asked to seek the opinions of the neighbors. At the workshop conducted in the community center, the residents were given line drawings of their evaluations and boxes of pastels. The children produced vivid ideas for the painting of the exterior facing the playground, alarming the organizers, who rushed out to get more neighbors involved. The adults produced lyrical murals with the sun, arbutus trees, snow-capped mountains, and flowers for the evaluations facing the surrounding houses. Public presentation. When the designs were presented at a neighborhood meeting, they aroused loud and repeated criticism. At the point of abandoning the proposal, a survey was suggested to find out the opinions of the surrounding families. Of a total of 28 families, 26 approved highly, one family disapproved, and one other family disapproved greatly. The family that disapproved greatly had provided all the opposition at the meeting, confirming our suspicions that public meetings do not always give a fair representation of public opinion. Compare this drawing from the workshop with the final painted wall in the next figure. Photo, Margaret King. The completed mural. Photo, Margaret King. Vandalism expected. The base coats for the mural, 2 shades of light blue, were applied by the painters whose normal contractual arrangements with the city had not been upset by the community participation. After the blue base coats were complete, winter rains arrived and stopped further work for several months. The community waited in apprehension for the vandals who had traditionally defaced the center, but spring arrived without a mark appearing on the walls. Teachers in the area involved about 500 students in setting up and painting the mural. A local merchants donated the paint. Professional painters advised on the care of the brushes. Artists and neighbors joined the children. Some weeks after completion, a vandal spray-painted graffiti over the walls. Within hours, the children arrived, opened up their pots of paint, and painted out the graffiti. Children eagerly paint their previously sketched design onto the community center walls. Vandalism and defacement were virtually non-existent afterwards. Photo, Margaret King. The murals are strong, lively statement of community effort. Photo, Margaret King. The children's response to the building or open space that is created following the design is to use it intensely and care for it vigilantly. They are fierce in their upbraiding of anyone who litters. Vandalism is absent. 2 years after the building of Guelph Park in Vancouver's East End, the park was litter-free, and despite constant heavy use in a crowded neighborhood, the only damage was a widened bolt hole in a loose plank in a tree house. This phenomenon is familiar to teachers. A principal of a senior high school in Calgary wrote, "I certainly wholeheartedly concur with the concept that if kids are involved in creating their own space, there will be no damage." 18. The new techniques, gleanings from around the world. In an article by Sandra Martins in Empress, the in-flight magazine of Canadian Pacific Airlines, Henry Wrong describes his experiences in establishing London's Barbican Centre Arts Complex. "If I were to do it again, I'd shoot the architects. They'd build a building that wasn't workable. It appears to me that they didn't realize people would actually use it." Surprising similarities. In different parts of the world, other architects received calls for help from their communities. Working in isolation from one another, we each met the need for participatory design while responding to local conditions and circumstances. Throughout the world, the newly developed public design techniques exhibited surprising similarities, although the innovators had no contact until published literature began to appear, revealing common discoveries about the nature of the method and results. Themes recurred not only in co-design experience but also in the accounts of individual work elsewhere. The focus shifts to the design of creative strategies instead of buildings. Architecture reveals itself as vast creative energy of which physical building design is only a part. The primary result of architectural energy is in the creation of community. The term architecture in the sense of community design participation is wider than in the conventional sense. This widening of the definition of architecture includes the design of strategies for community, action and organizational structures. Communities that face the intimidating forces of urban change look for help in directing the change first in the area of strategies. The work of co-design often concerns the creation of strategies. The applications range from a regional recreational park to a university department to a community school charter, even to a dress design firm. RU.DAT, the regional urban design assistant team sponsored by the American Institute of Architects, reflects this emphasis on strategies in its underlying philosophy. Our emphasis is not primarily on design at all, at least not in the old sense, but on making recommendations that affect policy. Widening the boundaries of architectural practice. The emphasis on the architect as enabler and facilitator to the community represents a change from tradition, carrying with it serious consequences for the future viability of the architectural profession in its present narrow definition. Co-design has found that architects require new skills and broader knowledge to meet the rising demand for community design. In Great Britain, Nick Waits feels the same way, stating, Unless architects begin to get to grips with solving the environmental problems of ordinary citizens, they may well become an irrelevant, if not obsolete profession. The architect's wait continues, must become a we with a change of attitude and skills in the economic, social, and organizational areas not normally concentrated on in architecture schools. David Strauss and Michael Doyle, authors of The Architect as Facilitator, A New Role, reinforce this view. It is clear to us that decision-making at all levels of society is moving in the directions we have described above. It is not clear to us whether the architectural profession and its educational institutions will seize the opportunity to be leaders in this new field of facilitation and process management, or be content to remain as one of many important technical consultants in the planning process. All of this has dramatic significance for the way designers are educated and their role in society. Timothy Kehoe and John Neilson of the Royal Architectural Institute of Canada refer to innovative community developments in the nation of Colombia to stress their view of the architect's changing role in society. They define economic, social, and technological factors as being important issues to the well-educated architect of tomorrow. Further, having skills in management and formulating strategies in cooperation with community organizations also will be necessary. New architectural skills must surpass the traditional roles of architecture if the profession is to survive future trends. A growing movement towards participatory design. Evidence mounts of a worldwide movement toward a change in the direction of architectural practice to accommodate the demands for public participation. RUDAT lists a large number of groups working in this field, including design centers in 60 cities across the United States, all working on design with communities. In the United Kingdom, the Prince of Wales on 31st May 1984 gave recognition to community-influenced architecture during a speech for the 150th anniversary of the Royal Institute of British Architects, RIBA. Prince Charles stated that some architects and planners have consistently ignored the feelings and wishes of ordinary people in this country, Britain, and he referred to community architecture as a viable solution to this problem. Rod Hackney, a British architect in favor of community architecture, responded, "It was dynamite. Suddenly, the future king has come along and said that the way to work isn't the modern movement, isn't the way most architects are working, but is the way community architects work. That means that the image of community architecture has suddenly leapfrogged over a lot of establishment figures who have been opposing it." Hackney challenged an establishment architect in 1987 in a bid for presidency of the 20,000-strong RIBA. Championing the cause of community architecture, he won a landslide victory. The theme for the International Union of Architects International competition for architecture in 1983 was very supportive of community architecture, as could be seen in the theme statement, "The Architect as Enabler." Nick Waits believes that this was itself evidence of a change in perception from the architect's traditional role as provider. The brief was to design methods and procedures which enable people to participate directly in the design and building of their own homes and neighborhoods. 186 entries were received from 44 countries, ranging from Argentina to Thailand and from Lithuania to the United States. Community-based design enriches the community. Many have remarked that community-based design enriches the life of the community. R. Udat, for instance, writes, "When a team came to town, people who had never talked to each other before, far less heard one another, began talking and listening." Christopher Alexander, speaking of the soundness of the theory that families should be designing their own houses, relates that by partaking in the process of creativity, suddenly they feel incredibly good, liberated, and full of powerful emotions. Alexander also believes that the emotions arising from the creativity may be the most important feature of architectural participation. Waits comments on his experience in Liverpool, which has seen families from demoralized and alienated communities form groups, register themselves as housing cooperatives, and design their own homes. The resulting homes are of better quality and are more appropriate to the needs of the family members and the community as a whole. Not only is there no vandalism or litter, but burglary has also stopped. Peter Buchanan, also in the United Kingdom, believes that because of the urgent need to encourage communities to flourish, where people can feel they belong and can identify with the needs, desires, and expectations of the community, the architect's role is to encourage communities to participate in the design of their built environment. Buchanan strongly believes that the individual's participation strengthens the identity of the community. As co-design has experienced, the act of coming together to focus communal energies on future directions has a positive effect. The antagonistic fighting approach is replaced with a cooperative approach. Opportunities are highlighted instead of problems, and adversarial discussion is replaced by cooperative creativity. Community design enriches the outcome. A common fear expressed to co-design by architects is that too many cooks spoil the broth. Only the solitary designer working in isolation can be inspired to creative heights. Yet, architects who have participated in community design disagree with this. Richard Song quotes no less an architect than Charles Moore in stating, "The energies of individuals and the community as a whole have enlivened and strengthened the design that developed. In each situation, individuals grew closer to one another, developing a stronger sense of community as a result of meeting, exploring their needs, and sharing ideas. The occasion of building a new church is an opportunity for the members of that community to come together, explore ideas, and celebrate the process of synthesizing ideas towards a common goal. Moore's comment that community participation has an enlivening effect on the design is echoed by other writers. As Jim Burns, a San Francisco consultant in design participation, describes it, the participation enriches the fund of resources to work with and thus expands conceptual horizons. It liberates rather than constricts oppositions and alternatives. It widens the imagination instead of limiting it to preconceived and arbitrary concepts. It helps to make appropriate decisions, ones congruent with helping people improve their lives in their community. Waite, too, believes community architecture has the promise of good design because it meets the requirements of the users, fulfills their lifestyles, and carries the essence of their desires and expectations. Alternative approaches for entering the design process. The co-design process begins with a discussion of activities followed by a site walk to perceive the sensual qualities of the area. A communal lunch is shared. The participants then visualize their ideas assisted by co-design. Similar steps occur in the descriptions of the experience of others. Jerome Darlach writes about the steps of discussion with users in the design of a new community in Ottawa. The first session allowed volunteers to become familiar with the site, to be briefed on the project's rationale, and to voice their concerns about Ottawa, what they liked or disliked about the downtown area, and whether they would consider living in the area. Next, the participants sketched maps of their neighborhood and wrote accompanying descriptions as well. The point of the drawing exercise is to lessen participants' fear of plans, maps, and other drawings normally found in an architect's office. In addition, the participants then feel less inhibited to comment on each other's drawings and to evaluate the different lifestyles the maps portray. This emphasis on visualization by drawing is user-friendly and encourages participation. Drawing and sketching go hand in hand with related techniques for heightening perceptions of the environment. It is important that community design encourage participants to use all their senses. Lawrence Halbrin's Take Part workshop process was used by Charles Moore for the St. Matthew's Church project at Pacific Palisade, California, consisted of 3 separate workshops. The first workshop entailed a site walk in which participants made themselves aware of the surroundings. They noted their perceptions of the site by using their senses of sight, sound, and smell, and recorded images, impressions, emotions, and desires for their new church. Then, after a communal dinner, which helps bring everyone closer together, the participants divided into groups for further discussion and development of the ideas generated before dinner. Moore's team continued to be close at hand to listen, answer questions, and aid the participants in building models of their ideas. Several elements of the Take part process accord with the co-design experience. The site walk, the emphasis on perception, the social nature of the event, and the visualization of the participants' ideas. RU-DAT repeats the emphasis on visualization. We have seen how very soon diagrams begin to occur. Diagrams of interrelationships. This concept interrelated with that diagrams of place, of magnitude, and of urban dynamics. And once people see ideas begin to take shape before their eyes, we can feel excitement rise. The pulse begins to beat a bit faster. Communal visualization and exhilaration seem to coincide. Considering the parts before the whole. As previously discussed, architects traditionally design an overall concept and then proceed to detail design. Community design works best in reverse. The smaller components of the design should be considered first, then used to build a concept. The co-design sequence begins with the lifestyle of the inhabitants and continues to the design of the parts of the building and then to the concept. This is the opposite of the traditional process in which the first communication with the public is with the presentation of the concept plan. Lucien Kroll in France focuses on generating a collage of personal preferences rather than a collective texture. Kroll tries to recreate the visual order or disorder of inhabitants through time. In the design of apartments, for instance, each one would make a very different and unique statement about that person's lifestyle. Instead of building having visual monotony, there would be variety, color, vitality. In Germany, Günther Bernisch believes that the individual parts must be given precedence over the whole. In the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation film Space to Be, featuring house building by communities in Egypt, Hassan Fathi believes, if we start by the millions and start by dealing with problems of traffic and zoning and land uses, forgetting all about man, we never reach the right solution and we stop at a certain level. The point of departure for all planning is to start from the element, man, and grow up, not to start planning from the top because we never reach man. Visualization as the key to community design. The accent on visualization by means of drawings and models is repeated by other writers. They emphasize the use of visualization as a medium of discussion and that the drawings and models can be changed to explore ideas as they develop. This changeability calls for a different kind of drawing than the traditional finished ones presented at public meetings. RU-DAT describes drawing as the primary language of architects. Those architects who have developed new skills to deal with public input are more able to generate a drawing that is generalized and diagrammatic. Arrow Street associates techniques of participatory design revolve around the use of image maps, which describe the participants' perceptions of the quality of a particular space. Sketches, line maps, and collages of photographs are used to help participants conceptualize their ideas. Tony Gibson of Nottingham University has found that architects believe they are able to communicate more effectively in using the same three-dimensional language, the model, adding that you looked at the thing and said, "Let's try this." So we tried it. If it was wrong, we changed it. The objections were raised. Then objections were raised for or found. So, all right, let's try it again another way, and this is where we came to a consensus. And as another participant noted, it was like speaking your thoughts. You visualized each other's thoughts. You project thousand thoughts into vision. Co-design involvement in television media has enjoyed success in extending enfranchisement in citizen decision making. Opening phone lines to the television studio connects viewers with on-screen artists. Chadwick Floyd's experience coincides with that of co-designs. Floyd's process of public participation elevates interaction between the designers and the public. It involves 4 television productions, each representing a particular phase in the design process and spaced approximately 1 month apart. For each of these productions, viewers are encouraged to call into the studio and voice their concerns about the future of their own downtown area. During the first session, the viewers are presented with the goals and a description of the area. Viewers' responses are received and an artist, Charles Moore in this case, sketches ideas as they are called in to the studio. Throughout the session, viewers are shown activities taking place within the studio. The telephone operator, the architect, the interviewer, a video downtown, the architect sketching, and so on. The atmosphere is exciting but hectic, and communications are open. The ideas are received, and the results offer a wealth of information on which to base the planning concepts. A paradigm shift. The excitement of discovery within a new and demanding endeavor echoes throughout the above accounts. All of our creative skills and knowledge of the best in design are extended beyond conventional practice. Possibilities for visionary designs that exceed the developer's visions open up conversation with people. The richness of designs and the eminent good sense of a process involving the user outshine conventional methods. We are entering a paradigm shift, one that will make the old ways seem inadequate. In describing co-design experiences, we hope to reinforce the work of others in the field of public participation as well, to share our experiences for the advancement of method in the new and exciting issues of cooperative community design. Clearly, the development of methods and skills in community design are in their infancy, still at the exploratory and discovery stage. This book becomes another step in the development of such skill, progressing toward the art of designing with people.